Gamer Poet strives to create the most informative and easy-to-navigate tutorials available, driven by viewer feedback and contribution. What some would do in multiple videos, we do in one. Since the videos are packed full of so much information, a lot of which the general viewer may not even care to know, navigation is provided to accommodate the individual as much as possible. Navigation is appropriately labeled within the sidebar via annotations to each major section. Occasionally, if and when it's needed, a sliding tray will drop down from the top right of the user interface. This has been implemented to allow viewers to skip over information that does not pertain to them in a progressive manner without having to check the video description or without having to guess while dragging on the timeline. However, the video description does provide navigation to every section of the tutorial step by step, and I recommend that it be utilized on subsequent viewings. Finally, video platforms such as YouTube are subject to change. The Gamer Poet's video interface has been organized in a way that hopes to weather future amendments within the platform. Though, the older this video gets, the more potential there is for the annotations to be hindered. Created by Shessen, DynDOLOD, Dynamic Distant Objects Level of Detail, is a set of tools that are used to create a distant level of detail mod tailored specifically to your personal load order. The mod that you create will not only be an enhanced version of the traditional in-game LOD, but also tree LOD, an optional dynamic distant object level of detail. Before DynDOLOD even begins to tap into your personal load order, thousands of LOD models have been created for the vanilla game that did not previously exist, such as Skyhaven Temple, roads, landscape, and dirt cliffs. Hearthfire homes, custom player homes, and other mods that you will use will now have LOD, the images that you see in the distance, generated for them. Animated models such as windmills and waterfalls will switch on and off based on their distance from the player to help with performance, and even light sources can be managed with these tools. Image pop-in between grids will be lessened and appear to be much more subtle when it occurs, and the texture generator that comes with DynDOLOD will even allow you to utilize most of the custom textures that you have installed to your personal load order and apply them to the new LOD if you choose to utilize it. While modern graphics cards should have no problem running DynDOLOD, adding more detail to the game will put a greater workload on the hardware. VRAM is important, but so is system RAM, and that's with any set of mods, not just DynDOLOD. Options are provided within the DynDOLOD wizard to accommodate most everyone, and they will be covered in detail within the execution and explanation section of the guide. I've said this before, and I will say it again. There are a handful of truly astounding utilities in existence that have helped to advance not only game modification, but the community itself. Those are the utilities that deserve our praise, and those are the creators that don't ask for or require anything in return for their efforts, other than the occasional firstborn or pie. This is one of those works of art. If you are only using a handful of mods, then you should experience no performance loss at all, regardless your system. If you have a plethora of 2K textures installed alongside ENB but have mostly updated hardware, you should still experience very little performance loss. However, if you are using 4K textures, which I advise against using unless they are for interior cells when heavily modding Skyrim, you are going to have performance issues when adding anything to your load order. If you have a system full of hardware that came out when the game itself was released or older, with a good deal of mods installed, there are options within the DynDOLOD wizard to accommodate you. Personally, with more than 500 mods now, ENB and Sweet Effects installed while using DynDOLOD's high setting and utilizing all of the options, I experience on average a drop of 5 FPS in select open world mountaintop locations. Throughout the majority of Skyrim, I experience 0 to 1 FPS loss with DynDOLOD added to my load order. No, DynDOLOD should be installed after them anyways, so there's nothing to worry about. None. No longer does DynDOLOD require anything other than itself to function. DynDOLOD is now 100% standalone. The time that was put in by Shessen for that to happen is something that I do not even want to begin to think about. Before the standalone update, DynDOLOD would take roughly 30 minutes to generate LOD for Legendary Skyrim. Since the standalone update, generating LOD for Legendary Skyrim now takes about 15 minutes. Most mods are compatible with DynDOLOD without needing any extra attention whatsoever. What proceeds are both mods that have been verified to work out of the box, mods verified to require a few additional steps, mods that require DynDOLOD to function at all, as well as a few mods that have been completely replaced. These mods are also listed in the official DynDOLOD documents. Feel free to skip to the tutorial's next subsection, Necessary and Recommended Third-Party Utilities, if you don't care to hear about compatibility. There are some mods that should be removed altogether from your load order when using DynDOLOD. The Skyrim Distance Overhaul, otherwise known as SDO, Expand Object LODs, Skyrim Distant Detail, and Distant Detail Hearthfire Edition. Not only does DynDOLOD completely replace what they provide, but it produces better results coupled with better performance. The mods that are currently known to have been developed for use with DynDOLOD are Enhanced Landscapes, Indistinguishable Vanilla Tree Billboards, and Regional Snow and Ice. Indistinguishable Vanilla Tree Billboards also work with Test 5 LOD Gen independently from DynDOLOD. Indistinguishable Vanilla Tree Billboards and Regional Snow and Ice work right out of the box. If you use Enhanced Landscapes, there are some priority notes to be aware of. I highly recommend that you watch Dirty Weasel Media's video on Enhanced Landscapes. I will not cover this mod, as Cal shows both everything that you need to do to install Enhanced Landscapes, as well as how to run DynDOLOD for it. I have used his video myself. A link to it is in the description. There is a decent-sized list of mods that are known to require some extra attention when used in conjunction with DynDOLOD. Beyond Reach, Climates of Tamriel Winter Edition, Dark Fantasy Overhaul, which is now a part of Enhanced Landscapes, Falskar, Immersive Content Realistic Outdoor Lights, Lanterns of Skyrim, Moldog Balls Inferno, Open City Skyrim, SMIM, the Static Mesh Improvement mod, SkyFalls and Sky Mills, Towns and Villages Enhanced Whiterun, and Towns and Villages Enhanced Riverwood. If you use any of these mods, view the mod-specific installation section of this guide to see how to install them before following the execution and explanation section. I will show how to install as many of these mods as I am able. Towns and Villages Enhanced have been omitted, and installation steps for them can be found in the DynDOLOD manual. There is a large number of mods that have already been verified to work with DynDOLOD without requiring any additional steps. See the official list on the DynDOLOD Nexus page. Mods that you have merged together using merge plugins, as long as they are not one of the aforementioned modifications, will work as normal and require no extra steps. If you are unsure of what a merged mod is, a video on merge plugins is linked in the description. SKSE, the Skyrim Script Extender. The latest version of SKSE is required for DynDOLOD to function. If you need help installing it, or care to view some in-depth information about it, a link to our guide is provided in the video description. Papyrus Util. Version 3.1 or higher of the Papyrus Util is required for DynDOLOD to function. I suggest keeping this utility up to date in case other software requires it. Simply download and install the mod to your load order as you would any other mod. Regarding the Papyrus Util, it would be wise to check the DynDOLOD Nexus description in case the version requirements change over time. The DynDOLOD resources. Available in the DynDOLOD Nexus page download section and will be covered throughout the guide. Billboards are 2D images of trees needed for LOD to be generated for them. You can download the standalone resolution billboards from the Test 5 LOD Gen Nexus mods page or a high-resolution version from the Indistinguishable Vanilla Tree Billboards page. We will cover how to install them during the downloading and installation section of the guide. If you have other mods installed that affect trees in any form, check the specific mods download section to see if billboards have been created for it by the mod's author, as well as the Test 5 LOD Gen Nexus mods page to see if billboards exist there for them. If you have any tree mod installed and billboards are not available for it, you may want to try creating your own. I have linked to the Tree LOD billboard creation video in the description, which will guide you step by step on how to create them. Once you have created them, you can, if you choose, upload them to Nexus as a mod so that others can use them as well. Let Shessen know if you do upload your own billboards, and he may link to them in the DynDOLOD page. Step Wiki users. Step-specific users will want to follow the step installation guide while watching this tutorial to understand the basic concepts. All step-related billboards are provided in the step texture compilation on the official Step Nexus mods page. SkyUI. While not needed for DynDOLOD to generate LOD, it is needed to take advantage of some very helpful and beneficial mod configuration menu options. NetImmerse Override. NetImmerse Override is a Papyrus extension that allows for certain functions that SKSE is not capable of. While not necessary for DynDOLOD to work, when installed, GlowLOD window lighting will automatically increase their intensity multiplier based on different game grids and can be customized in the MCM. If you use Race Menu 2.0 or later, you already have NetImmerse Override installed. Chesson's Skyrim Memory Patch. Every user should have this installed. Even when using the low setting that DynDOLOD provides, you may go over the default 256 MB memory allocation limit. See the SKSE video linked in the description for how to install the memory patch, as well as the link on how to install Chesson's Memory Blocks log to verify that the patch is working. EN-Boost. Even if you do not use the graphical functions of ENB, you should use EN-Boost to enhance your game performance and make it more stable. Not necessary, but recommended. If you are having issues or crashes using this alongside Chesson's memory patch, open the enblocal.ini file located in the Skyrim game folder and assure that expand system memory x64 is set to false. Eventually, a video for EN-Boost and ENB in general will be provided. The Skyrim ini file. Open your Skyrim ini file. Mod Organizer users do so from within Mod Organizer. Assure that both the section Archive and the setting S Resource Archive List equals with the following value exists and looks exactly like this. I will put this in the video description so that you can copy and paste it if you need to. Navigate to nexusmods.com/Skyrim/mods/59721. Open Files. Locate the most recent main files version. Select the Download Manually hyperlink. Open the DynDOLOD archive. In a second window, navigate to the Skyrim game folder. Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Skyrim. Drag and drop the DynDOLOD folder from the archive to it. You can, if you choose, install DynDOLOD to a different folder. The only two places to not install DynDOLOD to are the game's data folder, as strange things will happen, and to the Xedit folder, as files can easily become confused and lost during updates between the two programs. Navigate back to the DynDOLOD Nexus page. Open the File section. Download the DynDOLOD resources also located within the main Files section by selecting the Download with Manager option. Install the resources to your mod manager of choice as you would any other mod. When you install it, an installer window will open. At the main window, select Next. Visual Options. I would recommend installing them all, but they are completely optional and their descriptions are self-explanatory. Performance Options. Choose one or all of the options within if you are having performance issues. The Giant Fire's Low option may not give you much if any performance improvement, so I'd recommend to leave it checkmarked regardless your system. Miscellaneous options are purely preference. When you have made your selections, select Install. If you have any mods installed that were mentioned earlier within the mods that require some assembly subsection of the pre-installation portion of the guide, navigate back to the DynDOLOD Nexus Mods page one final time. Open Files. Within the optional File section, download the DynDOLOD patches using the Download with Manager option. Install the patches as you would any other mod. When you install it, an installer window will open. Activate the checkboxes only for the mods that you have installed. Select Install when you have made your choices. Be sure that all of the patches that you have installed load after with a higher priority than the mods that they are patching. Next, install any billboards that you need TreeLOD generated for. As mentioned in the pre-installation section of the guide, you will at least need to install billboards for the vanilla game. Navigate to either the Test 5 LODGen Nexus page or to a vanilla billboard page of your choice. For our example, I will use the indistinguishable vanilla tree billboards. From the Mods File section, make a selection for which resolution you want the LOD to be and choose the Download with Manager option. Install the billboards as you would any other mod, being sure that they are loaded after the High Resolution Texture Pack DLC, after any mods that patch the High Res DLC, and before any other mod that you have installed which affects trees. If you do have any other mods that affect trees, download the billboards from the mod page. If there are no billboards on the mods page, check the Test 5 LODGen Nexus page to see if billboards for your mod are located there. You can also try your hand at creating your own by following the TreeLOD billboard creation video linked in the description. Mod Organizer users, install whatever billboards you download directly after the mod that they are being used for. Doing this will assure that you generate the proper tree LOD for all of your mods. Nexus Mod Manager users, be sure to install any billboards that you have downloaded in the same order that the mods themselves have been installed. Example, if you have installed Skyrim Flora Overhaul with a lower priority than the mod Realistic Aspen Trees, first install the Skyrim Flora Overhaul billboards and then install the Realistic Aspen Tree billboards after them, keeping in mind that the vanilla game billboards still and always will need to load before any other billboards, including those just mentioned. The DynDOLOD executable and TextGen executable. Nexus Mod Manager users, feel free to skip to the next step within this section of the tutorial. Open Mod Organizer. Select the gears icon at the top to open the Modify Executables window. In the title field, type DynDOLOD. Select the ellipsis to the right of the binary field. Navigate to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Skyrim, DynDOLOD, and double-click the DynDOLOD executable. Select Add. In the title field, type TextGen or Text Generator. Navigate back to the DynDOLOD folder and double-click the textgen.exe. Select Add. Nexus Mod Manager users. Mod Organizer users, feel free to skip to the next main section of the guide. Navigate to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Skyrim, DynDOLOD. Right-click the DynDOLOD.exe and send a shortcut to your desktop. Do the same for the textgen.exe so that they are both easily accessible. Nexus Mod Manager users can ignore and skip this notation. For TextGen, as well as DynDOLOD, to be able to read all of the BSAs that you have installed, the BSAs which contain a good deal of, and in some cases all of the textures, and some meshes that need to be read, you have to open the Archives tab in the right pane of Mod Organizer. Deactivate the Have MO Manage Archives checkbox. Mod Organizer blocks many programs from accessing them. Xedit and DynDOLOD are two of those programs. Remember to reactivate this checkbox when you have finished installing DynDOLOD. TextGen cannot update all of the LOD textures. For example, LOD textures for the 3D models of major cities such as SLOD 03, WR Buildings LOD 01, or WR Buildings LOD 02. This is because these textures are rendered views of entire 3D models, just like a tree billboard, but a bit more sophisticated. All of their details, like walls, windows, and shingles, are baked into the textures so that the LOD for an entire house can be just a few triangles. TextGen can update LOD textures for 3D LOD models that are decimated versions, less vertices and triangles, of the full models, yet use the same textures, except that they are optimized for LOD. For example, TextGen can utilize textures such as Dirt 02, Imperial Exterior Wall 01, Imp Ext Floor 01, and Imp Ext Rubble 01 to update LOD textures like Dirt 02 LOD or Imperial Fort LOD. In short, a lot of LOD textures can be updated with the custom textures that you have installed to your load order, but not all of them can be. To run TextGen, you have to have both the Dawnguard and Dragonborn DLCs installed. Launch the TextGen executable. Mod Organizer users do so from the Run button within Mod Organizer. Nexus Mod Manager users do so from the shortcut on your desktop. When the DynDOLOD TextGen window appears, select LOD texture size. 256 should be both adequate visually and performance-wise for most users. Choosing the 128 option will save you some VRAM if you need it, and I would recommend not going higher than 512 if you plan on installing a lot of mods even with an up-to-date system. Navigate to the Skyrim game folder. Open the DynDOLOD folder. Open the TextGen output folder, right-click the textures folder, and create a new archive from it. Name the archive DynDOLOD Textures. Delete the original textures folder as it is no longer needed. Load the new DynDOLOD Textures mod into your mod manager and activate it. Mod Organizer users will use the Install New Mod from Archive icon at the top left of MO, and Nexus Mod Manager users will use the Add Mod from File plus icon at the top left of Nexus Mod Manager. Assure that nothing overwrites this mod's files so that all of your LOD remains updated with the textures that you have already installed and that it is activated for the next step. Launch the DynDOLOD executable. Mod Organizer users do so from the Run button within Mod Organizer. Nexus Mod Manager users do so from the shortcut on your desktop. At the Read the Funtastic Manual window, read all of the necessary documentation if you haven't. Deactivate the Show This Page at Start checkbox, select OK. When the DynDOLOD Worlds window opens, select the Advanced option. Select which in-game world you want to generate LOD for by activating the appropriate checkboxes in the window at the top left. The easiest option, and what I suggest to do, is to right-click within the window and choose Select All. All world spaces, including modded world spaces that are able to have LOD generated for them using DynDOLOD, will be available. If you don't want LOD generated for a specific world space, go through and deactivate the checkbox for it. Load Rules for Candles will load specific rules for candle flames when selecting Low, Medium, or High. FX Glow will load specific rules for glow meshes when selecting Low, Medium, or High. Level of LOD rules to be applied, Performance versus Quality. Low, Medium, High. Select one of these options. Medium is what most users will choose. Select High to get the most out of DynDOLOD with a slight performance impact. Select Low if you need to save on memory. The output path is the folder that the DynDOLOD mod files will be generated to. Data path needs to point to the Skyrim data folder. Mesh LOD Gen rules allow you to manipulate every aspect of the LOD that is to be generated. I recommend that only experienced modders attempt it. I will do my best to explain what I can for those of you who are interested. The ideas are simple once you take the time to understand them, but as they control so many different things, to explain them is a much more difficult task. If you want to skip learning about the mesh rules, you will be forgiven. Select the Skip to Next Step button at the top right of the video. Order matters. This is because the first matching rule wins. Mesh is the file path and file name of a specific NIF file that a mesh LOD Gen rule is being applied to. If the mesh or file path ends with a backslash, it is to assure that no LOD will be generated for any file in that folder. The file paths that you see in the mesh column all come from the origin Skyrim data meshes and have been visually condensed for the sake of orderliness and time. Thus, what you are looking at are files from the game's meshes folder. If you right-click on any column, you can insert a new mesh, delete the highlighted mesh, or choose to edit it. You can also double-click a mesh to edit it as well. Selecting Edit or double-clicking a mesh will open the Mesh LOD Gen export rule window. Mesh Mask FID needs to be the form ID of the model that is having rules applied to it. If the name entered is Tundra Driftwood 01.NIF, then all of this particular model will have the rules that are entered below applied to them. If you enter a single reference of this model, such as Skyrim.ESM semicolon 000-67553, then the rules below will apply only to that single tree, which is near Whiterun. I cover how to find form IDs in the TreeLot Billboards creation video, and I will provide a real-time example of this entire process for a mod in a moment. LOD Gen options. The LOD 4, LOD 8, and LOD 16 drop-down menus allow you to choose what type of model, if any, will appear in each of the LOD levels that you see in-game. Applying LOD from a higher level, example, choosing static LOD 8 from the LOD 4 drop-down menu, will apply LOD that you would usually see further away, less detailed, more performance-friendly, but less visually appealing to LOD level 4, which is closer to the player's in-game position. To sum this up, in the LOD Gen options section, you are choosing the quality of the model, if any, and at what distance that model is seen, if at all. Visible when distant. If a LOD model does not exist for the mesh at hand, but you still want to see LOD for it, leave this checkbox deactivated. Since LOD 4, 8, and 16 models won't exist anyways, it would be pointless to add their static LOD options via the drop-down menus above. However, you can instead assign the full model option, if you choose, to LOD 4, 8, and/or 16 to use the full model of this object as the static LOD. You can also leave any of the LOD Gen options blank and assign a grid reference below within the DynDOLOD options to utilize dynamic LOD. DynDOLOD options are more for, but not exclusive to, meshes that LOD does not already exist for. This option allows for objects that are not initially in the game, but appear later on after a situation, such as a quest being completed, to appear dynamically. From the grid drop-down menu, you can assign, if you choose, whether or not a full model or LOD model of the object at hand will be generated, even if a LOD model does not exist in the game folders for it, and at what distance it will be seen. References are self-explanatory and have notations beneath them. If you make any rule changes, select OK to apply them or Cancel to discard. The other Mesh LODGen rules columns, LOD 4, LOD 8, LOD 16, VWD only, and grid, are strictly for reference and can be changed via the Mesh LODGen export rule window as just shown. The backslash rule. A final note before our real-time example. Scroll down to the very bottom of the Mesh LODGen rules window. Notice that there is a backslash for the final mesh name. This backslash symbol, completely separate from any of the backslash names at the top of the window, represents the final rule of the entire LOD generating process. In a sense, it is the catch-all rule of DynDOLOD, as it helps to bring everything together since every file path and file name contains at least one backslash. Open the export rule window for the backslash rule. Notice that the visible when distant checkbox is activated. As we have learned, this means that this rule, which is all of the actual LOD files that come pre-packaged with DynDOLOD so that the vanilla game meshes have LOD generated for them, only applies to full models, which LOD models exist for. This rule dictates that every full model that also has a LOD model, prepackaged with DynDOLOD or not, should have static LOD generated for it. It also consolidates the entire process and all of the rules that come before it. Real-time example. The mod Revamped Asset Skyrim, among other things, provides a different version of the giant Azora statue that you can see from almost anywhere along the Northern Sea. Revamped Assets changes Azora's star with the Moonstar Morrowind version. However, the LOD that is included with DynDOLOD is for the vanilla game. This LOD that DynDOLOD comes prepackaged with is actually applied via the backslash rule, located at the very bottom of the Mesh LODGen rules window. This means that if no rules were applied to this completely new version of a model that already exists in the vanilla game, you will see the vanilla game's version of the star at a distance and only see the Revamped Assets Morrowind version of the star switch into view when you are close up. To remedy this, you would right-click and insert a new rule just above the final backslash rule that is located at the very bottom of the Mesh LODGen rules window. We need to assign this rule to the full model NIF file of Azora that comes with the mod. If you don't have the model name, which at this point you most likely won't, we will need to launch the game. Mod Organizer users will have to close DynDOLOD without saving so that they can reactivate the Have MO Manage Archives checkbox, being sure to uncheck it again before heading back into DynDOLOD in a moment. Locate the object in question in-game. Open the console. Select the object with the mouse pointer. Write down the form ID that appears on screen. Exit the game. Launch Xedit. Mod Organizer users should have deactivated Have MO Manage Archives again at this point. Activate the checkboxes for all of the mods that appear. Hold Shift to save time by skipping reference building, as we do not need it here, and select OK. In the Form ID filter at the top left of Xedit, enter the ID that we wrote down a moment ago. Push Enter. Locate the Model section in the right pane window. If there is no Model section, then enter the Form ID that you see in the Name Base field into the Form ID filter as we just did. Push Enter. Now, locate the Model section in the right pane window. This is the model name, file path, and all that will go into the Mesh Mask FID field within the Mesh LODGen export rule window. Write it down or push the Control key plus C to copy it. Close Xedit. Relaunch DynDOLOD if you need to, and at the wizard window, Advanced Options section, scroll back down to the backslash rule and insert a new rule just above it. Enter the file path and NIF name that we just wrote down or copied. For LOD 4, LOD 8, and LOD 16, since there is no LOD model that exists for this object, set the drop-down menu to Full Model for each to allow the full model to be used as the LOD. Activate the Visible When Distant checkbox, select the Grid drop-down menu and choose Far Full, select the Reference drop-down menu and choose Unchanged. Select OK, and we are finished. Selecting OK will save the rules, so the next time that DynDOLOD opens, those rules will still be saved and applied. However, selecting the low, medium, or high buttons at the top will overwrite any custom rules that you have made, so use the Save Load Preset option to preserve custom presets for later use. While for this specific example, Grid could have been left blank, in a hypothetical case that Azora's statue is enabled or disabled in-game due to some type of quest or other function, having Grid set to Far Full would allow the LOD to be generated dynamically in the furthest grid using the full model. This means if there is no Azura statue when you start the game, you will not see LOD for it. But later on in the game, when Azura's statue appears, the LOD will then, at the time of Azura's statue appearance, be added to the game as well. Thus, Dynamic Distant Object LOD. For those of you still with us, options. Generate static LOD. Determines whether or not BTO files will be generated. Most users will want to leave this activated. Generate tree LOD. Determines whether or not billboards will be able to be read. Most users will want to leave this activated. Generate DynDOLOD. Determines whether or not Dynamic Distant Object LOD will be generated or not. I would recommend leaving this activated. These three options and others do cost a little performance. How much, again, if any, depends on your system. Create Texture Atlas. Deactivate this only if meshes and textures have not been changed after the initial generation and you are updating other aspects of the wizard. Most users will want to just leave this activated. LOD Brightness. If LOD looks too dark or too bright, usually due to EMB usage, lower or raise the values and generate all LOD. Recommended to be left at 0 the first time that you generate LOD. Max Tile Size. Tiles are the textures that are in the Texture Atlas. This option defines the maximum size that each texture can possibly be from within the atlas. Windows, when activated, will generate glow LOD for Windows. High, when activated along with the Windows option, will allow Windows to react to daylight. Fake Lights Selected Worlds, when activated, will generate fake lighting glow in all of the worlds that you have selected from the top left window. Fake Lights Child Worlds, when activated, will generate fake lighting glow in all child world spaces that exist within the worlds that were selected from the top left window. An example of a child world would be everything that you see within the Whiterun walls while looking at it from an outside world space. When you have made all of your choices, select OK. While generating LOD still takes a long time, as is based on the options that you have chosen, as well as your personal load order, the speed that it takes has been cut in half since the DynDOLOD standalone release. Expect a 15 to 20 minute wait period, longer if you have hundreds of mods installed, and allow DynDOLOD to do its work. When DynDOLOD has finished, select Save and Exit. Select OK. Navigate back to the DynDOLOD folder, open the DynDOLOD output folder, highlight to select the folders and ESP, the meshes, SKSE, textures, and DynDOLOD ESP. Right-click and add them to an archive. Name the archive DynDOLOD Output. Delete the folders and ESP from the output folder as they are no longer needed. Add the new DynDOLOD output mod to your mod manager, the same way that we did the TextGen mod, and be sure to activate the DynDOLOD ESP. The DynDOLOD ESP should be kept as the last plugin, highest priority in your load order. DynDOLOD is now installed. If you add new mods to your load order or remove them, delete the TextGen and DynDOLOD output mods and then remake them following the same process as we've done. This section is placed after the execution and explanation section for better workflow for all users, as not everyone is going to have the following mods installed, and some who do may simply not care to follow the steps anyways. These procedures will all have to be performed before running DynDOLOD unless specified otherwise. The DynDOLOD patches. A set of patches for various mods that need nothing more than a patch are provided, as mentioned in the DynDOLOD optional files section. Simply download the patches and install them, utilizing the installer as you would any other mod. When placing the patches in your load order, they need to load after the files that they are patching, as well as after the DynDOLOD Resources mod. The current list at the time of this video's upload is Beyond Reach, Climates of Tamriel Winter Edition, Immersive Content Realistic Outdoor Lights, Lanterns of Skyrim, Moloch Ball's Inferno. More patches may become available over time. Fallscar. There are actually no additional steps to install Fallscar with DynDOLOD. However, when running DynDOLOD with Fallscar installed, you may receive an error message about missing IDs for Fallscar TreeLOD. These messages will appear if the Fallscar BSAs are unpacked, and the messages can safely be ignored. OpenCity Skyrim. Deactivate OpenCity Skyrim in your mod manager of choice. Run DynDOLOD. At the wizard, select Advanced. Activate the checkboxes for Generate Static LOD, Create Texture Atlas, and Generate Tree LOD. Deactivate the checkbox for Generate DynDOLOD. Make all of your other selections and then select OK. Once the LOD has finished being generated, select Exit, not Save and Exit. Navigate to the DynDOLOD folder. Open the Edit Scripts folder.
Open DynDOLOD and then open the DynDOLOD test5.ini file. Push the Control key plus F to open the Find window. Type Warn Mod file name and push Enter. Delete Open City Skyrim from the Warn Mod file name setting. Open the Find window again. Find Skyrim Tamriel. Delete everything within the Skyrim Tamriel section, leaving the heading intact. Save the ini file. Activate Open City Skyrim in your mod manager. Run DynDOLOD a second time. In the Advanced window, deactivate the checkboxes for Generate Static LOD, Create Texture Atlas, and Generate Tree LOD. Activate the checkbox for Generate DynDOLOD. Continue on as normal. SkyFalls and SkyMills, and SMIM, the Static Mesh Improvement mod. Option 1. Use SkyFalls and SkyMills as they are and install DynDOLOD after it. This will give you all that SkyMills has to offer, including the windmill sail placement that keeps NPCs from clipping through it, as well as everything that DynDOLOD offers. Just be sure to deactivate or remove SkyFalls' optional Small Waterfall plugin, as it's not needed with DynDOLOD. Option 2. Most users will want to ignore this option, as only truly dated systems will need to use it. If you do not want the dynamic LOD that can be generated with DynDOLOD due to needing to save all of the performance that you can use SkyFalls and SkyMills as normal. Leave the optional Small Waterfall plugin activated if you care to, and then simply deactivate the Generate DynDOLOD option within the Advanced window before generating LOD. Option 3. If you do not care for the windmill placement that SkyMills offers, you can skip installing and or completely remove SkyFalls and SkyMills from your load order altogether. Use SMIM. When customizing your SMIM installation via its installer, use the SkyFalls and SkyMills compatibility patch, even though SkyFalls is no longer installed, because this patch has no plugin or scripting that goes along with it. This will still work. You can choose either the vanilla windmill fans or the sails, and DynDOLOD will recognize the large sail meshes and implement them when LOD is being generated. Like most well-put-together mods and tools of this category and scale, DynDOLOD offers a mod configuration menu for those of you who have installed the mod SkyUI. The main section, Options, will tell you whether or not DynDOLOD is active. You can deactivate the checkbox to turn DynDOLOD off. Whether you are simply turning DynDOLOD off temporarily or are doing so to update the DynDOLOD mod, it is recommended that you be in an interior location when doing so that the DynDOLOD is active option is deactivated on its own. If updating, create a new save file and then update after making a copy of your old files in the case that you need to reinstall them. Last message will display the last message that DynDOLOD notified you about. The You Are Here section. Player shows your exact location in the world. Meshes and Textures shows you the file names that are currently being displayed on screen. The Settings section. Time for Fade In from Black overwrites the Skyrim ini setting that controls the time that it takes the screen to fade in from black after loading or fast traveling. By slightly increasing this value, you can help to hide the delayed dynamic LOD switching that takes place. Never Fade Maximum sets the distance at which objects marked with the Never Fade flag will eventually fade from view at. Window Glow Multipliers. Use NetImmerse Override. Allows you to activate the Window Glow Multiplier options. Only usable if you loaded rules for candles and or FX Glow before generating LOD. Multiple values are used to determine the brightness and strength of FX Glow meshes and candles in their corresponding grids. Static Object LOD sets the distance at which LOD can be seen in their corresponding grid levels. F-block level 0 distance being LOD level 4, F-block level 1 distance being LOD level 8, F-block maximum distance being LOD level 16. Terrain LOD Multiplier. F-split distance mult determines the distance for landscape LOD levels. Tree LOD. F-tree load distance sets the distance at which tree LOD fades from view. These settings and all of the others are all configurable from the game's ini files as well as this menu. You can try to lower them if you are desperate to save on performance, as what you will gain will be minimal. Information. The information section will give you some information about some of the files, activators, and grid diameters that are being used by DynDOLOD. If you want a complete and in-depth walkthrough of all of this information, you will find it in the DynDOLOD manual. As modders who have been around the community for a little while should know, there is no safe way to completely remove a mod from an existing save file. However, the safest way to go about uninstalling DynDOLOD is launch the game. Move your character into an interior cell, such as an inn or house. Make a save to a new slot, quit the game. Launch the game again, this time using the new save file that we just created. Wait 10 in-game days. Save again to another new save slot. Open your mod manager and delete or remove the DynDOLOD resources, DynDOLOD textures, and DynDOLOD output mods. Navigate to the DynDOLOD folder, which I have installed to the Skyrim game folder, and delete it. I'd like to thank all of you for watching this video, as I could have easily just mentioned a few steps here and there to get DynDOLOD working for you. It would not be working properly, you would not know all of the ins and outs or how to customize it for your own load order, and it would have only helped a few instead of all. So thank you for sticking with me throughout this experience. I have used a lot of references to create this video, from the Step Wiki to AFK mods and beyond, but the largest contributor, not only to this tutorial, but to the creation of this mod in general, was Shessen. I think he and I must have logged at least 50 emails back and forth to each other to get this completed. So as I have been saying a lot recently, thank you, Shessen. Another thank you to Alternity, who has created a very in-depth, step-by-step text and pictorial guide on how to install and use DynDOLOD with Rybash. That link, along with many others, is in the video description. A thank you to SRB of Step for some initial information. A huge thank you to Joe of Gamer Poets for all kinds of help, both with the first tutorial, which some of this information was based on, as well as for creating his mod, SkyFalls and SMIM, and providing information about it. And a final thank you to Alicia of Gamer Poets for some testing and for reeling me in when I wanted to show you how to make DynDOLOD work more additional ways so that the video didn't take me an extra couple of weeks to create. Thank you one, thank you all, thank you, thank you, thank you. As always, I am Michael of Gamer Poets. Thank you for watching.